When we look back on the Dragon Ball franchise as a whole, there are so many moments that define that series. A multitude of classic fight scenes and sequences that create such an awesome feeling of power, and it was such an enjoyable progression to watch. However, there is one moment in Dragon Ball history that sits atop the mountain far above all the rest, in terms of impact and how remarkable it truly was. This moment is the single most iconic moment in all of Dragon Ball, and I would even go as far to say, arguably anime history. This is a moment that almost everyone associates Dragon Ball with, when they think of the franchise. This is a moment that created an experience like no other, and completely blew our minds witnessing it for the first time. This is a moment that motivates us to push forward, no matter the odds, and to dig deep within yourself to find your strength, especially when moving on and finding that inner strength is the only option. This is a moment that would have absolutely broken the internet beyond all repair, if social media was around during that time. This is a moment that was truly legendary, and I'm sure all of us find ourselves going back and watching from time to time, when we need some motivation or just to simply relive seeing it again, although it will never compare to when we first experienced seeing it. This is a moment that shifted the story, and completely changed the game of Dragon Ball forever. Goku going Super Saiyan for the very first time. So there is much to be said about this truly legendary moment in Dragon Ball Z. On its own as a scene, Goku's first transformation into a Super Saiyan has just such a charming and epic tone to it, even to this day. I'm sure many of us can agree that even though we've watched this scene multiple times over, we can still have chills running down our spines when we see it again. And something I also think is amazing about this scene is that it's enjoyable to watch in pretty much every dub. No matter which one you prefer to watch the show in, it's still an epic moment. I prefer to watch this scene with the Funimation dub with the Bruce Faulconer music, but even if you prefer one over the other, it doesn't really matter because they all portray it very well in my opinion. But while this scene largely has a nostalgia factor that contributes to making it so legendary to this day, allow me to explain why I think this scene is far greater than a simple nostalgia trip. If you came into this scene blindly, without knowing anything about how Super Saiyan looked, it was truly a privilege to witness it in that state. What people often overlook about this scene is the massive amounts of buildup it took to get to this transformation. I believe one of the earliest, if not the earliest mention of the Super Saiyan, at least in the anime, is during a scene a lot of people forget about. The first time we're introduced to Nappa and Vegeta, back when Vegeta had brown hair and was eating bug people, we witness them having a discussion about how pathetic they think Raditz is for being killed on Earth, which leads them to talking about the Dragon Balls that were also mentioned. From this discussion, Vegeta spawns the idea that himself and Nappa, LOL, will use the Dragon Balls to wish for immortality, and then Vegeta says they will become Super Saiyans. I know this dialogue occurs in the Funimation dub, but I'm not sure if it does in any of the other ones. Just let me know in the comments. However, I feel this was worth mentioning because having this dialogue at this point in the story was actually a very good move. It plants the seed of the Super Saiyan legend and piques our interest right away, leaving us wondering, well, what on earth is a Super Saiyan? But anyway, the mystery of the Super Saiyan hits its peak in the Namek saga. We witness a chain of events that created the absolute best build-up of any arc in Dragon Ball Z, in my opinion. The race for the Dragon Balls between Krillin, Gohan, and Bulma versus Frieza and his forces was such a thriller. But not only that, we also had Vegeta in the mix, who was just purely on his own side in this whole sequence, which really gave him a wild card role. Sure, Vegeta ends up helping Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo in the end, but you knew you always had to watch Vegeta for any tricks that he may have had up his sleeve. It was great. And what added to that dynamic was that, like Frieza, Vegeta was also in it to get the wish he initially sought out for, which was immortality. Frieza or Vegeta gaining this wish would have been catastrophic for Goku and the rest of the gang. So needless to say, the stakes were incredibly high. This arc really puts you on the edge of your seat wondering who was going to get the Dragon Balls first, and also wondering how in the world Goku and company was going to overcome these seemingly insurmountable odds. Remember, Vegeta was enough to worry about in this circumstance, but then you pile that on top of Frieza himself, and his very powerful henchmen like the Ginyu Force, Zarbon, Dodoria, Qui. Man, it seemed like the only way they would stand any chance is by some miracle happening. And it did. Things just lined up so perfectly for this transformation to take place. It was executed amazingly. But anyway, there were also tons of characters mentioning the Super Saiyan during this arc, but nobody had any idea what the Super Saiyan actually looked like or what it even really was, which helped add to the mystery of it tremendously. Before it makes its debut, we see characters like Captain Ginyu, for example, calling Goku a Super Saiyan when Goku showed him his full power with the Kaioken. And of course we know this was not the Super Saiyan transformation, but the fact that it was being hyped up to be this supremely powerful form really helped boost its momentum. And also there are moments like where Vegeta thinks he's achieved it against Frieza, but then he gets absolutely trashed, which just keeps us as an audience wondering. Before Goku actually transforms, we get an epic battle sequence against Frieza, where Goku and the Z-Fighters are just having to pull out all the stops to beat this guy. And what makes the situation more dire is that it seems like nothing is working. It gets to the point Goku ramps up his Kaioken as high as he can, but to no avail. Frieza is just too strong. So Goku sees that the only inkling of hope they have is for him to resort to his ace in the hole, the Spirit Bomb. Given all the techniques Goku had at his disposal at this point in time in Dragon Ball, this was a fantastic move on the writer's part. We knew that Goku's trump card was the Spirit Bomb, and this was going to have to work and be the move to defeat Frieza, because as an audience it says to us, if this move doesn't work, they're truly screwed. Goku successfully charges it up and launches it at Frieza, and it appears to have been a success. Or so we thought. This show does an excellent, and yes, I say excellent job, in that portion between where the Spirit Bomb hits Frieza and when he shows back up again. We get the sense of, it's finally over, but also in the back of our minds we're wondering, is that really it? Is Frieza really defeated? And I feel that doesn't get talked about enough. The way the writers made you initially feel like everything was fine, the battle was over, and our heroes were safe, only to have that fear instilled back in us very quickly when Frieza shows back up again. It's a small detail, I suppose, but one that beautifully adds to the mood of this sequence. It evokes an emotional response in us as an audience, with feelings of panic and helplessness, much like the Z-Fighters were feeling at this point. It just seemed like all hope was lost. Frieza shoots a death beam at Goku, which Piccolo jumps in front of to save him. And this was actually very important because had Piccolo not done that, Goku would not have turned Super Saiyan. After this, Frieza grabs a hold of Krillin and lifts him in the air. We hear Goku pleading with Frieza to stop. Krillin is yelling for his life. And then Frieza kills him in cold blood by making him implode. This whole sequence happens rather fast and is a lot for the viewer to process initially. Piccolo is down, Krillin is dead, Gohan and a beaten down Goku are the only two left standing, but they're all out of tricks. Goku is in a silent state of shock and anger at the sight of his best friend being brutally murdered in front of his eyes, and feeling like he was powerless to stop it. The brutality of this scene, and Dragon Ball in general at this point in time, also helped add to the seriousness of this moment. It was dark, and this really highlighted the severity of the situation. But just when it seemed like they're all out of options, the skies go dark, lightning starts striking, the planet begins to shake. Goku is in a heat of rage, saying he won't let Frieza get away with what he's done. What's happening? Goku is getting an immense surge of power. Frieza and Gohan are looking in shock and disbelief. And then finally, with a mighty, thunderous roar, Goku is changed. He now has golden hair, with an identical golden aura surrounding him. The equalizer has shown itself. The form we had been wondering about for so long has finally appeared. The legend has been realized. Goku is a Super Saiyan, and we are in absolute awe of this transformation. There is no dialogue initially from the other characters remarking this transformation, because the look itself speaks louder than any words ever could. The tide has shifted again, and Frieza looks absolutely terrified, and for good reason. His worst fear has just been realized, and the very thing he never wanted to happen has appeared right in front of his face, and what's more poetic is that he is the one who caused it. Goku is ready for war, stares down Frieza, and proceeds to show us why the Super Saiyan is all the hype it was built up to be, and more. It absolutely dominates in battle and is clearly superior to Frieza. But with great power comes great responsibility, because we notice Goku is also trying to hold on to who he is throughout the battle, which I always thought was an amazing contrast. As we all know, Goku and Frieza go on to have an epic battle, which ultimately results in the planet exploding, but also with Goku coming out on top and defeating Frieza. The Super Saiyan has won the day, and defeated the evil tyrant that had been plaguing the universe for so long. And this leads me into the conclusion of this video. The reason I think the Super Saiyan transformation, and this scene in particular, holds such a strong place in our hearts to this day as Dragon Ball fans, is of course for its uniqueness, especially at the time, but also because of what the Super Saiyan symbolizes, the light in the darkness. It also helps us and inspires us to remember that no matter what tough circumstances come our way in life, we can overcome them if we persevere, and that's how I will always remember and view the Super Saiyan. It is the literal manifestation of the strength that you have to go deep within yourself to find, given form. And the reason I view it this way is because of how it was beautifully showcased in the greatest scene in Dragon Ball history. I know a lot of you view the Super Saiyan transformation the same way I do, and had similar experiences witnessing it for the first time. I'd like to know all about it. So please comment below and tell me how your experience seeing the Super Saiyan for the first time was, and if it still resonates with you to this day. To end this video, I want to say this. The Super Saiyan might not be the strongest form anymore in the Dragon Ball continuity, but it is by far the most impactful, and that will never be taken away. And because it's the most impactful, that makes it the strongest in terms of what it means to the Dragon Ball story and to us as fans of the franchise. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, my fellow Z Warriors. If this is content that you enjoy, please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, because I truly enjoy making these videos about Dragon Ball, and I also make Pokemon Go related content on my channel. If you haven't checked that out already, you definitely should. I think you'll enjoy it. But again, thank you all so much for your support, and I will catch you all in the next video.